Renaissance Architecture by Will Chappie. Renaissance architecture is called Renaissance because it is part of the rediscovery and revival of Greek and Roman thought and culture that came from the Renaissance, meaning from rebirth, that lasted from around 1400 to around 1600. Renaissance architecture was a style of architecture characterized by the use of classical architectural ideas and techniques, originating in Florence with the work of architect Filippo Brunelleschi. When creating the dome of the Florence Cathedral, Brunelleschi was influenced by the dome of the Pantheon in Rome, as well as his ideas of order, symmetry, and his rediscovery of the linear perspective. The style of Renaissance architecture also came at a time of greater artistic revival and wealth in Italy. Some characteristics of Renaissance architecture include a desire for symmetry, proportion, and harmony, the use of classical orders, which are styles of columns, and precise ratios of height and width. Domes, columns, arches, and pediments were common features of Renaissance buildings. Some examples of Renaissance buildings include St. Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel, both located in the Vatican City, the Palazzo Farnese, located in Rome, and the Palazzo Medici Riccardi, located in Florence, and the Basilica di San Lorenzo, also located in Florence. An example of a Renaissance architect is Michelangelo, who also worked as a sculptor. He designed St. Peter's Basilica, the Porta Pia, and the Laurentian Library. Another example was Andrea Palladio. He designed Il Redentore, the Via La Rotonda, and the Basilica Pardani. And his work was so unique that he had an entire separate style named after him. Some accolades of the design period were that it was praised for its innovative use of classical techniques and for its innovative blending of classical techniques and Christian ideas. Architects used classical ideas of symmetry and combined them with new ideas such as the linear perspective and used them in new and innovative ways in their designs. An example of this is the dome, which has remained a feature that is used to capture awe in designs. The period was also criticized for being overly excessive in its displays of personal wealth and status. Wealthy patrons were criticized for commissioning huge projects to impress their peers and taxing their subjects to pay for these projects. Some technological advances of the period included the printing press, which helped architectural ideas spread from Italy to the rest of Europe. The cranked hoist, which was used to bring materials and food to workers working higher up on buildings. And the blast and finery furnaces, which allowed greater production of iron that can be used in buildings. Renaissance architecture influenced several later styles of architecture. The basic elements of Renaissance buildings were embellished in the later Baroque style that countered the ideas of the Protestant Reformation. The styles that the Renaissance developed in Italy and the rest of Europe also influenced the Renaissance revival style of the mid-19th century and was one of the many styles the influence. What the hell? In particular, the palazzos built in the Renaissance style were used as a template for buildings such as department stores. Renaissance architecture originated in Florence, Italy in the 15th century, with Filippo Brunelleschi being credited with bringing about the Renaissance style of architecture. It then spread to the rest of Italy in the 15th and early 16th centuries, before spreading to the rest of Europe and even to the European colonies in the Americas throughout the 16th and 17th century. This spread was helped by illustrated books and prints of plans and styles, and Italian architects became highly sought after. In the countries it spread to, Renaissance architecture mixed with the views of local architects who took up the style, as well as local cultures, to create unique styles in places like England, France, the Low Countries, Spain, Germany, and the Baltic states. How did it fade out? Renaissance architecture faded out slowly as architects in Italy experimented with using classical styles in more innovative ways and moved away from the traditional classical styles and symmetry of the Roman style, which led to the Baroque style. Baroque was more ornate and had less of the strict rules of Renaissance architecture. It was introduced to the rest of Europe suddenly as a counter by the Catholic Church to the ideas of the Protestant Reformation. Baroque was used by the Catholic Church to inspire awe in the common people in a way that Renaissance architecture had not been.